Virgin Voyages is one of the most unique cruise lines that's out there. I'm going to take you through my entire experience on board a cruise that left out of Barcelona. Let's get right into it with zero fluff. By the time we're done, you'll know if a Virgin Voyage is right for you, or if one of the major traditional players is right for you. Let's get into it. First, let's talk embarkation. The embarkation experience is sometimes a pain point for many cruise lines, not so much with Virgin. When you buy your ticket, you're eventually going to decide what time of day you want to embark. When you get there, you'll be able to only embark during your slot. This cuts down on lines. I picked one of the earliest slots, so I didn't really have any lines at all, so to speak. Out of curiosity, I rolled down a few hours after embarkation started. This was the longest the lines got. So, even on peak times, it really wasn't that unmanageable. The terminal was clean and decked out in Virgin Red. That said, we did kind of sail right through, didn't have much time to explore. Let's get into the cabin experience. The lights that line the corridors can change based on the time of day. They could be blue, white, red, anything they feel like. Let's get into a cabin. Okay, this is the default experience when you come into a stateroom. This is how the beds are laid out. We ended up needing to split the beds. Stick around to the end of the cabin tour to see what that looks like. The 2 twin bed configuration is a little bit different than some of the other cruises that I've been on. It's a little bit unique. This is an outside stateroom, so it had a nice sized window and in front of it a nice little seating area. A cool thing is that almost everything in the room is controlled by an iPad, including the curtains and drapes. They open and close automatically with the touch of a button. Because the ship is new, everything inside is fresh and clean. Let's see how it holds up against the test of time. One thing that we liked was the in-cabin refrigerator that was big enough to actually store some things. I have been on other cruises where the in-room refrigerator was actually a minibar that was completely stocked and not really usable. A daily program was placed in the room for you to follow along and do as much or as little as you wanted. Here is another thing that I found unique to Virgin Voyages and the Scarlet Lady. They provided water bottles every day in the room and were refilled every single day. The restroom size in the room is about what you'd expect for a cruise ship. It was well appointed and clean, modern lines. One thing, if I had a magic wand, would be to give it a little bit more shelving for you to store your toiletries. Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady's hair wash, body wash, and conditioner seemed premium. Let me show you what the 2 twin bed configuration looks like. This is that. You'll see that the 2 beds are perpendicular to each other, which is the opposite of what most cruise lines do. Okay, let's get to the common areas of the ships and take a look at what kind of foods are offered on board. One of the main corridors features bar-style shuffleboard, and they proved pretty popular. There was always someone playing. Much of the design of the Scarlet Lady and Virgin Voyages is very open and collegial. That seems to be the entire design theme. One of the most interesting things were these complimentary grab-and-go style snacks. These were featured in a couple places around the ship. People were always grabbing them. One of my favorite places on board was the Mediterranean spot near the stern of the ship. The location is awesome. It's outside, it's fresh, there's places to sit, places to lounge. It really makes for a convenient place to get some food. A bar was tucked outside in the back too if you wanted any drinks, but the environment really sold it. You didn't have to do much to really enjoy this. The food was also great, Mediterranean style. Here, you could get grilled octopus and shrimp any time of day. That is not a common offering on many cruise lines. There's a lot of playful touches around, from these netted loungers to even an on-deck seesaw, which is interesting for an adults-focused cruise. That brings me back to some of the theme that I found on the Scarlet Lady. The orientation and design is really steered toward getting people to engage. In fact, if you look at these red loungers back here, they are all communal. It's a really interesting touch, and it is a lot of fun. Okay. Once we got ready to sail away and most of the passengers ended up getting on board, many of them decided to congregate toward the main pool area, featured here. This sailing was sold out, but it never really felt overcrowded. The only times you notice these large crowds is when they featured an event, and they designed it purposefully to encourage crowds. You do want to have crowds for parties, however, you don't want to have crowds for the buffet, and somehow Virgin really hit this out of the park. The design of the ship allowed crowds to exist when they wanted them, but allowed plenty of space for the public areas. Let's keep making our way through the ship. Modern design cues are everywhere, but one of the things that makes a trade-off is the comfort of the seats. Take a look at the seating arrangements here, and think about how not so comfortable these chairs would be. That's the case. While they are pretty to look at, they are not so much functional. Here, you'll be able to see the design of the main elevator banks and the stairway. Again, modern, clean lines rules the day. Okay. Virgin Voyages has its own version of a buffet, and it's called the Galley. We're going to head up there right now so you can get an idea of what you're in for. The Galley serves up breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and overall, they do a really good job. let's walk through some of their offerings. The salad bar offered several different bases to start and then had several different toppings for you to rotate throughout the week. Breakfast at the Galley was excellent. Egg sandwiches, fresh fruit, French toast, everything was spot on. Virgin did not cut any corners there. Pastries were baked daily, and you could tell these were fresh out of the oven. But one of my favorites was the fresh fruits and berries that were offered nearly every single day. There were a number of different cuisines that were offered, from Indian food to Asian food, sushi, and more. These options rotated every single day. Here was one of my favorites. The poke bowls that were available upstairs were excellent. Whoever designed the desserts on the Scarlet Ladies the Galley probably deserves an award. These were pretty desserts. It was clear to see that they intended us to take pictures of these to be able to share them on social media. They were good looking. Mainstream cruise ships will not offer desserts that look anything like this at the buffet, maybe in the main dining room if you're lucky. Let's talk about dining options on board that play well on social media. This one, the test kitchen, plays the best. If you're looking to share your dining experience on social media, you'll probably want to eat at the test kitchen. It plays really well to social media and photography. The intention of the test kitchen is to create a Michelin dining style experience on board. The plating and garnishes all speak to that molecular type cuisine that they're going for. The food looked good. However, many of the passengers agreed that the food looked better than it tasted. That said, it was an outstanding dining experience. Service was really well done, and it's interesting to watch the food being prepared right in front of you at the preparation stations. So, on my cruise, it was definitely worth a visit, but I'm sure it's not going to be your favorite. Let's take you to another restaurant, Extra Virgin. This was the Italian restaurant on board. While the food here was not quite as photogenic as the test kitchen, it proved to be a fan favorite. The antipasto, the artichoke, the fresh-made pasta, they all were outstanding. Everyone at my table also appreciated the fish and the dessert. You will want to stop at Extra Virgin. It's a great experience. Okay, moving on. Food is an important part of every cruise, but let's walk through some of the entertainment venues on board. Many of the entertainment spaces are flexible. They could be set up for music, comedy, or dancing, you name it. The biggest is probably the Red Room. It's the flagship entertainment venue on board, and it too is flexible. All of these seats and stands could be retracted in order to turn this room into a giant multi-purpose room. The seats here were comfortable, which contrasts with some of the other seats that are in the public areas. Entertainment overall was varied, but it was all really enjoyable. Okay, I found out after boarding that this was considered a celebration cruise, which meant there was a lot of interesting activities on board. A lot of them were social. Wait till you see who showed up on this voyage. There were a number of happy hour events that featured complimentary cocktails that were distributed, and they attracted tons of people. By far, the biggest event of the entire voyage was the Scarlet Nights. Virgin Voyages is known for its Scarlet Night events, and it did not disappoint. I have never seen an event quite like this on board any cruise ship I've ever been on. Events started early in the evening and culminated with this giant deck party that featured 2 celebrity guests. Again, I've been on many cruises and there is often a theme night of sorts on board, but this one seemed to take the cake. You are probably wondering who the celebrity guest might be. Let's get in tight. Recognize anybody? And look at this. Take a look at who's DJing. That's right, both Richard Branson and Boy George were on board this voyage. So, at the end of the day, the Scarlet Lady really provided a great cruise experience. It was a lot of fun, particularly if you were a social person. We got the vibe that the Scarlet Lady and Virgin Voyages don't nickel and dime as much as the traditional cruise lines. Have you ever been on Virgin Voyages or the Scarlet Lady? Let me know your experiences in the chat below so we can discuss it and see if you think that Virgin was better than the traditional lines. Take a look at this last shot. I took this when I was flying out of Barcelona Airport and caught the Scarlet Lady while I was leaving. Thanks for watching, and drop a like and a comment below.